Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And in today's episode, the topic is the one thing that separates Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan from Kawhi Leonard. So that's the topic I'm going to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also, our Dreamerspro Max platform is available. It's going to be one of the fastest growing online sports communities out there. It's a place where you can go and chat live during games, consume original content that you can get nowhere else. Also be able to go live with us after games for post-game reactions, and for us to be able to take some of your questions and do so many other things. So if you guys are interested in that, be sure to check it out in the description below and get 7 days of free access to check it out. So if you guys are interested, be sure to check it out in the description below. So let me get into this topic here. Now, all of you guys who've been following this channel for quite some time now are fully aware of the fact that Kawhi Leonard is my favorite player. That's my guy. He's my favorite player in the NBA. I've been following the guy for the last few years, probably 4 or 5 years now. I think he's kind of the third generation of that Michael Jordan type of player. If you guys go back and look at MJ, the way he played, Kawhi Leonard is like a hybrid version of Jordan and Kobe. Right? Because, you know, Jordan, as y'all know, Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time. I don't think anyone questions that. And his accomplishments are just out of this world. If we look at Michael Jordan, if you look at his career accomplishments, it'll take you a while to go through them. Obviously, we know he's a 6-time NBA champion, 6-time finals MVP, never lost in the finals, never went to a game 7, 5 regular season MVP awards. He was a 14-time All-Star, 3-time All-Star game MVP winner. He's been on 10 All-NBA first teams, a second NBA team. So he's been on 11 All-NBA teams. He's been on 9 All-First defensive teams. Michael Jordan also won the Defensive Player of the Year. So, I mean, it's absurd when you begin to think about it. The guy also won 10 scoring titles in the NBA. He was also the Rookie of the Year in the NBA. He led the league in steals 3 separate times. He won the slam dunk contest 2 separate times. He has the highest scoring average in the history of basketball, and he has the highest scoring average in the playoffs. Like, so when people say that Jordan is not the great, either they're just hating or they're trolling. Like, there's no way you can, or there's no other basketball player that ever lived that you can juxtapose their resume with his, and then somebody's going to tell you that, oh, the other person has a better resume, unless you're just trying to be a troll. Because no honest person will. There's nothing. What are we comparing? He's the best on offense. He's most accomplished when it comes to winning, or one of the most accomplished, unless you're going to throw out Bill Russell. But then if you look, you can't have an MVP argument. You can't have a defensive player. Guy's made 9 All-NBA first defensive teams. He was the best defender. I mean, talk about led the league in steal. Like, it's not even close. Like, so I try not to entertain people. I think people just like to troll. There's no way you could think that Michael Jordan's not the greatest player of all time, in my opinion. If you look at Kobe Bryant, to me, Kobe Bryant, now Kobe's my favorite player of all time, right? And Kobe Bryant was the closest thing to Michael Jordan. So the way I see it is, if MJ is the greatest player of all time and he's the closest thing to him, he got to be in the top 5. But leave it to certain people in media, and they'll try to paint a different story. But Kobe, as y'all know, is a 5-time NBA champion, 2-time Finals MVP, most valuable player in the league. Been on 11 All-First NBA teams, 2 second, 2 third. So he's been on 15 All-NBA teams, 9 first All-Defensive teams, just like Michael Jordan, 3 All-NBA defense, second defensive team. So the guy has been on, Kobe's been on what 12 all-defensive teams? Like, what are we even talking about here? Led the league in steals 2 times, has the second scoring output, has second highest scoring output in the history of the NBA, has like over 140, 150, 40 point plus games. I mean, it's just absurd when you think about Kobe Bryant's resume. And every basketball player has admitted that Kobe is the closest thing to Jordan. You know, it's not even like it's only people in media, but basketball players who know the game, who understand it at a deeper level, all of them say that Kobe is like the second coming of Jordan. Everyone knows that except people in media who are agenda driven. Players are not agenda driven. And what's actually kind of funny is that you would think that players would be the haters, because he was giving it to these dudes for years, but they're the ones that are first to give him the props. There's always people in media that like to hate on Kobe because he didn't have a bubbly personality. That's what it is. He wasn't chummy with guys, and that's what they didn't like about him. And that's why y'all know that a lot of this has to do with people's personalities, and a lot of it has nothing to do with their game. Just look at the Terrell Owens situation with him not being voted into the NFL Football Hall of Fame. what did that have to do with his game? If it was just based solely on his game and his performance, T.O. would have made it into the Hall of Fame of football a long time ago. But we all know people wanted to make it about his personality. And once you start doing that, then you can paint any type of argument. And now you become, now you're at the mercy of the voters and basically people in the media. And the people in the media like to create a certain reality that's their own because they have their own personal agendas or their opinions. Maybe they just don't like the guy. So that's it. Now, which brings me to Kawhi Leonard. And that's a topic for a whole nother day. Which brings me to Kawhi Leonard. And we all know that Kobe and Kawhi worked together already. We already did a video on this during the All-Star game. I think it was it must have been the 2016 or so All-Star game when they met. And Greg Popovich asked Kobe if he could start working with Kawhi Leonard. We already did a video on this. And you can see once he started working with Kobe, his offensive game just went to a completely different level. His moves became much more polished. You just look at Kawhi Leonard play prior to then and after. You can see, clearly you can see the influence of Kobe. And to give it up to Kawhi, other people have tried to mimic Kobe Bryant, but he's one of the guys that actually was able to pull it off. Same thing with Jordan. Many people try to mimic Jordan, but Kobe pulled it off. Here's the one thing that separates Kawhi Leonard from MJ and Kobe. And this thing is their competitiveness and their sense of responsibility to the game and its fans. That's the thing that I believe that separates these two. Last night during the All-Star game, we were on the Dreamerspro Max platform. We were live during the game. And we were chatting during the game. I was actually talking to Kato. Kato, shout out to Kato. He's one of our biggest supporters out there. Shout out to you, Kato. If you see this video, shout out to you. And me and Kato, we were kind of talking about this during the game. And we were talking about, I was kind of annoyed because I wasn't happy with the lack of competitiveness in that game. If you go back and look at All-Star games in the early 2000s, like 2010, late 90s, these guys were competing, right? They were competing. Guys wanted to win the game, right? You could tell that it really mattered. It really mattered to these guys. And I was looking at that game last night, and it was entertaining. You know, guys were shooting threes, showboat, which is fine. You know, Stephen Curry and Damian Lillard, these guys, I mean, Stephen Curry was just unreal. Like with his 3-point, especially when he shot the 3 and turned his back. I was like, come on, man. What are you going to do with this dude? So there was that kind of thing going on, which I understand because at a certain point you want to entertain guys. But what I realized was that Kobe and those guys, Kobe and Jordan, they didn't do it because of the money. They weren't motivated by the money. Guys, these guys were already rich. Like, I think people miss that. These dudes were rich. You're talking about multi-millionaires. They were rich. They were filthy, stinking rich. They had deals with Jordan. Jordan had deals with Jordan brand. I mean, Nike, and obviously his salary plus his endorsements. Kobe had a deal with Nike. I think Nike, and at first it was Adidas, then Nike. You know, I think something was Sprite, plus their salary. Guys were rich already, right? And I was just watching that game, and I was looking at the demeanor of some of these guys, even Kawhi, and I was saying to myself, why is it guys are not even trying to compete? Because in the first half, I was like, okay, the guys are not going to be trying very hard. We get that, right? But the NBA try to incentivize these players by putting these quarters and attaching them to different charities. So they're like, please play harder. If not for us, if not for your fans, at least do it for these charities. It's gotten to that point where players now need to be motivated to perform for various charities, because if they didn't put that, these guys would not perform because they don't care. Simple and plain. And I was thinking to myself, there's no way in hell that if Jordan or Kobe were in that game would have been as uncompetitive as it was. I'm talking about for Team Durant. Because Team LeBron, I think LeBron didn't play for 3 quarters. But Team LeBron wanted to win. I think not just for themselves, but also they wanted to win that money for those charities. And I was just sitting there looking at Kawhi, and I'm like, this guy he wasn't even playing. He was just there trying to facilitate, but not in a competitive way, just in a very passive way, right? And it made me think about Kobe during the 2011 All-Star game at halftime when he had like 21 points or something. And he was interviewed by the late, great Craig Sager. And they interviewed Kobe in halftime. And I want you guys to take a listen to what Kobe Bryant said. Just take a listen to what he said.
Well, Kobe, obviously you're scoring with 21 points, 6 rebounds, but also 3 steals. And I saw you whisper something to Dwayne Wade before the opening tip. What'd you say to him?
Oh, no, it had nothing to do with the game. It was just something else that was humorous.
All I know is shortly thereafter you stripped the ball from him twice. There is a rivalry with you guys.
Well, no, I mean, we're just going to compete. I'm out here to play. And, the fans voted us in to see us do what we do best. So
you're the leading vote getter for the West 4 years in a row. Are you also out to win the MVP because you're well on your way?
Well, we want to win. We want to prove that the West is stronger. And, the way to do that is by winning this game.
If you listen to Kobe in that soundbite, Kobe was having fun, but he said, but we want to win. And we want to show them that the West is the best. I don't get that sense from Kawhi and these dudes. I don't get that sense. I get the sense that, they're just there and they're just there going through the motions. And it's like, I can't even be bothered. That's the impression that I get. And for me, you can't be a leader. I don't care in what field you are. You cannot be a leader if you're indifferent. You will never be a good leader if you're indifferent. If the only thing that you can motivate yourself for, if the only thing you can motivate yourself for is just yourself, then you'll never be a leader. You're just like a mercenary. You're an individual that does well on their own. But if you can't get motivated beyond yourself and try to be motivated for others and feel a sense of responsibility to others, not just yourself, then you're not a leader. You're just a guy that's there. And that's the sense that I got from that game. Another thing was, I listened to some statements that Paul George made, and I'm going to get on Paul George for a second. And they asked Paul George, they said, he said he wasn't very interested in attending the All-Star game. He said, quite frankly, he doesn't think it makes sense because this is what he said, fans will not be in attendance. Although they had 2,500 fans in the arena, he said fans wouldn't be in attendance because, and the fans are the ones that kind of make these games because you can see them there. There's an energy in the arena. You see the celebrities and all of this different stuff. And since they're not going to be there, they don't see the point of it. And I thought to myself, I said, what kind of stupid statement is that to make? So help me understand. You don't feel that an NBA game is important because the fans are not going to be in attendance. There aren't going to be as many fans in the arena. Okay, so let me ask you. Normally, when NBA games are happening, do you think that the only people that are watching the game are the people in the arena? Is that not the stupidest thing you ever heard? Or if that's the case, given the fact that there aren't really any fans in any of these NBA arenas, so according to your logic, then it doesn't make sense for there to be any games anyway. Do you see any fans in these arenas? So why have regular season games? Since there are no fans in the arena, cancel the season. You should say, with that logic, with that line of reasoning, say, okay, listen, since there aren't going to be any fans in the game, let's not have a regular season. Forfeit the year. Not going to do that because obviously it would mean you'd have to forfeit your salary. It has nothing to do with whether or not fans are in the game. The fact of the matter is there are more people watching on TV and online than there are in the arena. What kind of stupid thing is that to say? The NBA arena only holds certain 25, 30,000 people. So it has nothing to do with whether or not they're fans in the attendance. They're people watching on TV. What type of nonsense logic is that? But this is how some of these guys, reason, and to me, just their own mental approach. Then I think late in the third quarter, in the fourth quarter late in the third quarter, the team Durant now started to compete. And I'm saying to myself, why weren't you playing defense all along? Why is it that you waited to the third quarter to start playing defense? Why is it that you waited to the fourth quarter, then they checked Kawhi back in, and now they're trying to make a run? What kind of embarrassment is that? And then you lose 4 quarters in a row. What type of embarrassment is that? So number one, you lost. Number two, you were okay with losing. Number three, you lost money for your charities. $450,000 went to the other team's charity because I think the second half they won $300,000, and then in the first half they won $150,000. So $450,000 went to the team LeBron's charity, and y'all can even get a penny for your other charity. What? Where do these dudes? Where do they make these dudes? These guys have no respect for their audience. They don't care. And me and Kato were talking about, maybe they make too much money. Then I realized it has nothing to do with the money. It's just your approach to your work. Some people felt a sense of responsibility to their fans. And for people that criticize those people for feeling a sense of responsibility, your opinions don't matter. You're not the ones that people are going to remember. Nobody's going to remember the guy that feels like it's okay to mail it in, but still collect his check and feel like, oh, well, it's not that deep. It's just an all-star game, because that's your brand. That's a place to showcase your brand. It's an all-star game. Not everybody can attend that game. It's a place for you to showcase your brand. And to me, if it was me, I don't want my brand to be associated with losing. Period. You see a lot of guys on YouTube. Dudes will say anything just to get views. They will come out there. They don't give a damn about what with the arguments that they make. They don't give a damn about their the presentation of anything. They're just there to get the views. You see some guys that are out there, their only thing is, how can I figure out a way to make money? They don't give a damn what they say, whether if it's true or if it's not. Always trying to skip steps. These guys that are always trying to skip steps, just trying to figure out, how can I weasel my way in and make some money? Nobody wants to go through nobody wants to pay their due. Nobody wants to hustle, but everybody wants to be rich. You want to have the bank account of a Jeff Bezos, but you have the work ethic of a damn sloth. It don't work like that. And to me, I don't want to be associated with mailing it in, not giving a damn about my audience. Like, to me, I think that's just ridiculous. And again, this is why Jordan and Kawhi and Kobe went a different level. At a certain point, it has nothing to do with the money you make. It has everything to do with how you approach your work. And to me, I don't understand how you can allow yourself to get blown out by 4 quarters. And at the end of that 4th quarter, guys wanted to start hustling. And what's his name? And Reggie Miller's like, now, you can see the West is starting to pick up their defense with 5 minutes left in the game. What kind of stupidness is that? And you end up losing by like 20 points in an all-star game. And they were trying to incentivize these guys because they're so pre-concerned with everything else that has nothing to do with the fans, that there was that at the end they said, oh, now we want to make it a game, so you see them really out there competing and high-fiving. I'm not high-fiving you if we lost. What am I high-fiving you about? If I don't high-five me. We lost. And at one point, I think Kyrie came out. He wasn't laughing. He wasn't smiling. He's like, y'all should be embarrassed. Y'all, you guys are losing. We lost 4 quarters in a row, and y'all out here smiling. But that's the world we live in today. Some people can consider it a rant. I don't like laziness, and I don't like people that have no regard for people that put them in that position in the first place. I think a lot of these guys feel as if that they're there because of their talent. Guys, let me tell you, there's so many skilled jobs in the NBA. Do you know that there's only been about 4,500 NBA players since the beginning of this league? 4,500. They're very high skilled jobs in the world. It's just that this particular job, people enjoy watching it. That's all it is. Construction, guys that build rockets, guys that build roads, guys that build computers, engineers, the guys that do very complicated things. The reason they don't get paid that much is because it's not entertaining to watch. It has nothing to do with skill level. Right? It's just that there are only a certain amount of positions, only 30 teams in the NBA. Therefore, the pool of players that can apply for this particular job are much smaller. Doesn't mean that, you're better than somebody else or what you do is more complicated. Formula One is the most technologically advanced sport in the world. The most technologically advanced sport. If you see what those guys do in Formula One, it'll make the NBA look like a joke. If you're talking about from a technical aspect, the competitive aspect, it's not even comparable. Right? It's just that the NBA is very fun to watch, and people are mistaking that and feeling like there's something special, when in reality there are people that do things that is just as complicated or even more complicated. It's just that it's not as intriguing to watch. But don't feel like, you just got here all on your own. Your fans are the reason you're there. Period. End of story. These teams are making most of their money from TV deals and ticket sales. 40% of the revenue from NBA teams comes from the fan attendance. It's not you. Your fans make you who you are. And the minute you lose sight of that, you lose sight of everything else. And you end up with a watered down all-star game where guys are not even competing. So I know I spoke a lot, guys, but I had a lot to get off my chest. Whatever you guys think about this, leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro. Wishing you guys an amazing day and catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.